In the late 18th century, there lived a brilliant man of science named Arthur. One day, he stepped away from his laboratory having found a beautiful young woman, Clara, who soon became his wife. Arthur loved his young wife deeply, but his truest, most consuming passion was for science and the hidden mysteries of nature. One day, very soon after their marriage, Arthur stared at his wife with a troubled expression. "Clara," he said, "did you know that the mark on your cheek could be removed?" "No, I didn't," she answered, smiling. "People have always called it a charm, and I suppose I believed them." "Perhaps on another face it could be a charm," he said, "but not on yours. No, my dearest Clara, your beauty is nearly perfect, but I despise that birthmark." "You despise it?" exclaimed Clara, her eyes welling with tears. "Then why did you marry me? You cannot truly love me if you hate this part of me." In the center of Clara's left cheek was a curious red mark. It had the precise shape of a tiny human hand. In the past, young men who admired her found the tiny hand endearing. They would say a fairy had gently placed her hand on Clara's beautiful cheek at birth. Some envious young women, however, whispered that it ruined her beauty entirely. Before their marriage, Arthur had barely noticed the birthmark. But now, it had grown into a frightening obsession. Clara's beauty was so close to perfection, and he could not tolerate this single flaw. To him, it was an imperfection of nature, a constant reminder that all humans are mortal and flawed. Their happiness began to erode, all because of this tiny mark. When Arthur woke up in the morning, the first thing his eyes found was Clara's crimson mark. When they sat together by the fireplace in the evening, his gaze would inevitably drift to the birthmark on her cheek. It became the symbol of her imperfection in his mind. Clara would shudder whenever Arthur stared at her, and the healthy pink color of her cheeks would turn a pale white, making the little red hand stand out even more, like a ruby set upon a pale stone. Late one night, Clara asked him, "My dear Arthur, do you remember a dream you had last night? A dream about this dreadful little hand?" "A dream? No, I don't recall," replied Arthur, surprised. He then added coldly, "Though perhaps I did. I was thinking about the hand before I fell asleep." "You did dream of it," continued Clara, her voice trembling. "It was a terrible dream. How could you forget? How could you forget saying, 'It is in her heart now, and we must cut it out'?" "Do you remember the dream now?" Arthur now remembered. In his dream, he was with his laboratory assistant, Daniel. He was trying to surgically remove the red birthmark, but as his knife cut deeper into her cheek, the little hand only seemed to sink deeper and deeper into her flesh. At last, the tiny hand gripped Clara's heart, and Arthur, in his dream, was determined to cut it away. Remembering the dream so clearly now, Arthur felt a wave of shame. The truth often reveals itself in our dreams. Until that moment, he hadn't realized the terrible hold the birthmark had on his psyche. "Arthur," Clara said with grave seriousness, "what can we do to remove this birthmark? Perhaps it will cause a disfigurement, or perhaps the mark is as deep as life itself. But can we remove it forever?" "Dear Clara, I have considered this a great deal," Arthur replied. "I am certain it can be done." "Oh, then please do it," she begged. "I am not afraid of the risk. A life with this birthmark under your gaze is awful. Either remove it, or take my life. You are a great man of science, known throughout the world. I am certain you can do it. Please save me from this madness." "My dear wife," cried Arthur, "do not worry. I have studied this problem extensively. I am certain that I can make your cheek as perfect as the other. I know I can correct this small error of nature, and my joy will be immeasurable." "Then the matter is settled," said Clara. Her husband kissed her right cheek, the perfect one. The next day, Arthur explained his plan. They would seclude themselves in the apartment that he had used as a laboratory in his youth. It was there he had made his most important discoveries, learning about the secrets of nature and the universe. Clara felt a sense of dread as Arthur led her to the apartment. He looked at her with hopeful eyes, but the sight of the birthmark on her white cheek made him shudder, and at his reaction, Clara fainted. "Daniel! Daniel!" Arthur shouted violently. A short, robust man with long, unkempt hair emerged from another room. This strange man, Daniel, had been Arthur's assistant for many years. He did not understand the scientific principles, but he was excellent at following instructions. "Clara has fainted. Quickly, open the door and burn the restorative incense," cried Arthur. "Yes, master," answered Daniel, looking at poor Clara. Then he muttered to himself, he should never try to remove that birthmark. If she were my wife, I'd never part with it. Arthur was at his wife's side when she awoke. "Where am I?" "Oh, I remember," Clara said quietly, and she placed her hand over her cheek to hide the terrible mark from her husband's sight. "Do not be afraid, dear Clara," he said gently. "It will be a pleasure for me to see it gone." "Oh, please do not look at it again," she pleaded. "I can never forget that awful shudder." To distract Clara from her anxieties, Arthur tried to entertain her. He showed her a small plant that grew rapidly before her eyes. When a lovely flower bloomed, Clara exclaimed, "It's magic. I won't touch it." "No, you can touch it," he encouraged. "Pick the flower and enjoy its fragrance." But as soon as Clara's fingers touched the flower, the entire plant withered instantly, its leaves turning black and brittle. Next, Arthur decided to create her portrait on a polished metal plate, using the scientific process he had invented. The result was unsettling. The portrait of Clara was faint and difficult to see, but the birthmark was perfectly clear and visible. Angered, Arthur threw the metal plate away. He soon moved on from these failures, immersing himself in his studies and experiments. He would often visit Clara and tell her about the mysteries of science and the history of alchemy. He told her that science could perform incredible feats and could easily remove the little hand from her cheek. But whenever Arthur mentioned the birthmark, Clara's spirits would fall. Arthur worked for many hours in his laboratory with Daniel's help. One day, he showed his wife a vial containing a gold-colored liquid. "What is this?" asked Clara. "It's beautiful. It looks like the elixir of life." "In a way, it is," he replied. "It is a potion of immortality. It can prolong life, or if misused, destroy it." "Why do you keep such a terrible potion?" Clara asked in horror. "Oh, do not worry, my dearest Clara," Arthur replied. "Look, I also have this powerful cosmetic for the skin. Are you going to use that on my cheek?" she asked. "Oh, no. Your cheek requires something that will go deeper, much deeper." When she looked in the mirror and saw the red birthmark, she began to hate it more than anything. While Arthur toiled in his laboratory, Clara explored his library. It was filled with the works of great scientists, poets, and philosophers. But the most fascinating item was a large folio, a book written by her husband, in which he recorded every experiment of his scientific career. It was the history of his intense and ambitious life. As Clara read it, her love for Arthur grew even deeper. She knew he was a brilliant man. However, she also saw that many of his ambitious experiments were failures, and this discovery filled her with a profound sadness. One day, she rested her face on the open book and began to cry. When Arthur entered and saw her, he said, "It is dangerous to read a wizard's books." "Now that I have read this book, I adore you more than ever," she said. "Then wait for this final success," he said, "and adore me then, if you wish. But for now, I would love to hear your beautiful voice. Please sing for me." So Clara sang, and Arthur was soothed. He then returned to his laboratory, but Clara had forgotten to tell her husband about a strange sensation she had been feeling on her left cheek for the last few hours. So, for the first time, she entered his laboratory. The first thing she noticed was the furnace, with its intense, glowing fire. All around the room were glass tubes, cylinders, and other scientific instruments. The air was thick with strange vapors and odors. But what truly surprised her was the sight of Arthur himself. He was not pale and worried. Instead, his face was flushed with focus and excitement as he prepared a strange new potion. He was so different from the man she had seen just moments before. "Carefully, Daniel, carefully," he cried. "This is a critical moment." "Oh," said Daniel. "Look, master, look." Arthur raised his eyes and became enraged when he saw Clara. He rushed to her and grabbed her arm. Why did you come here? Do you not trust your husband? He cried angrily. Now, go away. No, Arthur, said Clara firmly. It is you who doesn't trust me. You hide your worries about this experiment from me. I will accept all the risks. No, no, Clara, said Arthur impatiently. I will drink any potion you give me. I trust you completely. My dear wife, said Arthur, his tone softening, you must understand that this red hand is deep within your being. There could be danger. Danger? There is only one danger, that this horrible birthmark remains on my cheek, cried Clara. Remove it, or we will both go mad. Your words are very true, said Arthur sadly. And now, please, go back to your rooms. The potion will soon be ready. When Clara returned to her rooms, she thought about Arthur's noble character and his great love for her. He only wanted her to be perfect because he loved her so intensely. Her thoughts were interrupted by Arthur's footsteps. He carried a glass filled with a bright, colorless liquid. He was pale, but he seemed calm and confident. This potion is perfect, he said, looking at Clara. It cannot fail. My dearest Arthur, she said, life has become so difficult. I think death might be the best solution for me. But why do you speak of death? The potion cannot fail. Look at its effect on this plant. Near the window was an old geranium plant with yellow, dying leaves. Arthur poured a few drops of the potion onto the soil. After a few moments, the ugly yellow leaves began to transform, turning a vibrant, healthy green. I did not need proof, said Clara quietly. I believe you. Give me the potion. I am happy to drink it. Drink then, my dearest wife, he said. Soon, your body will be as perfect as your spirit. Clara drank the potion and handed the empty glass to Arthur. It tastes like water from a magic fountain, she whispered. Now, dearest Arthur, let me sleep. She fell asleep almost immediately. Arthur sat by her side, watching her intently. He kept his eyes fixed on the birthmark on her white cheek. At first, it was as vivid as ever. Then, slowly, its color began to fade. It's almost gone, Arthur whispered to himself. Success. A total success. But he noticed that Clara's face was growing incredibly pale. He heard his servant, Daniel, give a gruff laugh from the doorway. He, too, was watching. You have served me well, Daniel, Arthur exclaimed. Heaven and earth have done their part. The experiment is a success. These exclamations disturbed Clara's deep sleep. She opened her eyes and glanced at a mirror he held up for her. She smiled weakly when she saw that the little red hand had vanished completely. Then, she looked at Arthur with deep love and sorrow. My poor Arthur, she said quietly. No, I am the richest and happiest of men, and you are my splendid wife. Now, you are perfect, my poor Arthur, she repeated lovingly. You have aimed high. Your intention was noble. But now I am dying. It was true. The fatal hand had been intertwined with Clara's very life. When it disappeared, her life faded with it. And so, she died. Arthur had demanded perfection on earth. He had failed to realize that to be human is to be imperfect. In his desperate quest, he lost the woman he loved, destroying his own happiness forever.